Well, hi, Serious Writers. My name is Bethany Jett. I'm one of the co-owners of Serious Writer. Kyle, my partner in crime, I don't know, we don't really do a lot of crime. I guess partner in writing business is in Italy with some writers for our Serious Writer Italy retreat. And I heard from them this morning for me. It's this afternoon for them. But I think they're doing a tour today. I'm seeing a lot of pictures pop up on Facebook and they're having such a good time. And he's already wanting to go back for 2025 and talking about dates. So we'll probably just send something out to see who's interested. Nobody has to sign up and put money down, but just to see if there's interest in going to Tuscany for a writer's retreat. So I don't know. I know he'll be very excited to come back and share everything that's been happening over there. I'm excited to hear about it. So it's just me today again, but we're just going to do kind of a potpourri of topics today. But the first thing I want to let you know is next week, we won't be filming on Wednesday because I have a special guest coming in for our podcast. If you're on Twitter, you may have seen Brian Gerlain, and he is the author of the Book of Rules, which is a picture book. And he does a podcast. He just had me on his podcast, which was so great. And I'm very excited to have him come in and talk about picture books and the kidlit space with everybody. And he is a teacher. So we are going to be filming on Tuesday of next week at 9 p.m. Eastern because he's in Central Time. And he's got little ones. And so he's going to put them to bed and then pop on with me. And so that's what we're going to do next week. I will be sending out that information if you want to mark your calendars. It is a different time than normal, but I'm really excited to hear what he has to say. He's very well respected within the kidlit community, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I hope that's going to be something that you're excited about. I'm really excited about it. So that's the news. And then we're going to jump into a couple of things today. So I've received a question asking about Threads, which is a social media platform. So I'm just going to touch on Threads real quick. We have a critique that was sent in for a query letter because conference season is happening right now. So if you're going to a conference, particularly in the Christian market, they tend to do one sheets more there. So it's good to have. So I'm going to do a critique on that. And then, just depending on how much time we have, I might touch on why it's really important to have hooks and teasers in your writing, whether you're writing in fiction or nonfiction. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'll be sharing my screen for most of the time. And let's just jump right into Threads. I think that'll be a good place to start. So let me get my face off of here. All right. And let me just kind of move things over. All righty. All right. So you should be able to see Threads on your screen. And Threads is an app on the phone. And so I didn't want to try to figure out how to connect my phone to Zoom because sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So I just grabbed a resource about Threads and I wanted to be able to show what the interface looked like. So Instagram Threads is a platform that is similar to Twitter in the way that it's a very conversational platform. I don't know that this is going to be a great platform to sell books. I think it is a good platform if you want to build community, but I don't even know that it's going to be what Twitter X is. So what I have heard, actually, when I was at a writing day workshop, the DC one, just a couple weeks ago, Threads was a topic of conversation amongst the agents as we were having lunch, just a quick conversation. And one of the agents mentioned that he'll try to say positive things on Threads, like give tips or give advice on publishing, but people just come at you with negativity or just being rude. And so he doesn't tend to be on it very much. And I think that's probably true. I think that there's a lot of meanness that happens online, and certain platforms tend to be a little easier for people to be that way with. And because this is very much a conversational type of platform, I can see why that is. I have connected Threads to my Instagram, but then when I wanted to disconnect it, when I looked into the settings, Now, this may have changed. I always have to say that because these things change all the time. But when I had looked at it, if I wanted to delete threads, I would have had to delete my entire Instagram profile. So I wish that I had done more research before opening a Threads account, because now I have it and I don't use it and I can't get rid of it unless I want to delete my Instagram. So unless they have taken that away, then it's there. So it's not going to hurt you to have one. People may find you on there. There is a writing community over on Threads. But in terms of, do I think that you should spend a lot of time there in order to reach your audience and potentially sell books? I do not. So if that makes you feel better about not having one, I'm really glad. If you are using Threads in a very meaningful way, I would love to know. So either throw it in the chat or throw it in the comments, because I would love to know if this can be used in a good way. I haven't seen it, but that does not mean that it is not possible. So I'd love to hear what you think about this. So this is Threads. This is, as you can see, it's this weird little, it looks like an @ sign that's been manipulated. And it's not as powerful as Twitter. And I think that when I used the Threads interface, I was annoyed that I wasn't able to do all the things that I wanted to do over there. So I just didn't. So this is Threads. And if you have questions about Threads, I did open up the help center on Instagram. So again, let's talk about how social media is it's a very small space, because Meta owns Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and now Threads. So that's 4 different platforms that they have under their umbrella. So if you put all of your eggs in one basket, if you will, and Meta goes away or shuts down or deplatforms you, then you've lost everything. So I think it's really important to have more than one platform, and Instagram and Facebook are completely different platforms. And it's good to have both of them, but you need to have at least one other where you can be active, just in case. So people know where to find you somewhere else. So here's just the help center for Threads. And so if you have questions or need tutorials and things, this would be the place that I would go to first, is just check out the help center. And that would be true for, we talked about Substack last week. I still haven't started playing with this yet. Until this busy season of publishing ends, I probably won't get into Substack. I hope to really launch into that this summer or before. But hopefully you have started playing around with it, and there are tutorials and help things for that as well too. So I'm excited to see if you guys are going to be using Substack, or we talked about one other one, but it's escaping me because I have not had enough coffee today. So any questions on Threads? I don't see any questions, just some comments. Sandra said, I posted what I posted on Instagram for the day. I think posting on Threads is what you post on Instagram, it may be a good strategy just to see if you get any type of traction there. I don't know how well pictures do versus just text. I think it's very conversational. So I would say play around with it. Melissa said, I haven't tried Threads because her audience isn't using it. It's always good to know, but glad to learn about it. So it's always something to keep an eye on. I mean, for the most part, I like to get my username/handle on a platform when it opens, which is one reason why I went ahead and got it on Threads, because I don't want someone to come in and take my username. I already don't have the same username for all of my platforms. So it's very annoying. So I try to at least get my name if I can, before anybody else takes it. So that's one reason why I'm pretty, I would say, quick on the draw with that. But all right, I don't see any other questions. So we are going to stop share. And we're going to jump over into a critique. So if you are at, I think Wordsmiths is our $10 level for Patreon, and then Storytellers is the $29. At that level and up, you can send in a critique. It's something for us to critique, whether it be a one sheet, a query letter, your website, or a page on your website. Back cover, it can be anything. Back cover copy, it could be a social media platform that you just kind of wanted to get our eyes on. We want this to be something that's very practical. So you have the opportunity for us to do that. So We have one. Sandra has sent us in a one sheet. So I'm just going to make sure that the whole thing can be seen on the screen, and then I will share my screen and just do a quick critique on here. I think that this is going to be a one sheet for a conference. All right, so this is how to pray without asking God for anything, which is a 30-day challenge, which I thought it's a pretty cool, like the contrast between asking without asking for anything, because that usually when people pray, a lot of times it's because we need something. So I liked that. My one question was, it's a devotional, so a 30-day challenge. I liked that as a subtitle, but I was glad that you had devotional in your information here. So first things first, I love a one sheet that has a picture as the entire background, like you have here. And you have it faded in the back. So I thought that was fantastic. I love it when all the space is utilized on a one sheet. So that was really good. I like that the headshot and bio is down towards the bottom and that you've got your title on top. I think that's very, very smart. I might change the layout slightly. So I will say that I love that you have like the longer rectangle at the top, and then underneath of that you have pulled like a pull quote that is the same length. I think what I might do though is, because of the way the text in the box looks right here, some of the information is being shoved to the next line, like 20 to 70 plus, and then the email's not on the same line, and then the website isn't on the same line. I would probably take out the phone number, and you really don't even need to put the word email here. Your email would be enough. The same with the website, although if you wanted to have website there, that was totally fine. But I might put this information in like, I would mimic maybe the long rectangle with it so that everything sort of stays together and doesn't get shoved. I did like in the middle though how you had the box and the other box. So I would just kind of maybe play around with the look of it just a little bit. I'm looking at it from an agent's eyes. So as I'm looking at it, the first information, just like if I was looking at a query letter, would be that the metadata, which is what you have with the nonfiction devotional. I would want to know the word count of it. So I would include a word count there as well. The paragraph next to it that starts out, "Is your prayer life in a rut?" I think that's the stronger statement. So I don't think I would start with the pull quote from, which I'm assuming is from the book. And I see in the chat we've got some comments in here too, which is great. I might have that be really the first thing, because that's really what is going to pull you in. So if you want to include the information about it all started when, I might move that down to the bottom, maybe call it an author's note. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be there, but I might move it towards the bottom and let your pitch really be the part that sings. The other thing is, I think you had asked in the email about the color. The blue is pretty in that top box, but I would have it connect, and I like that it's similar to your top, so you have the blue coming down. So I might have some kind of blue border, or have that color one other place towards the bottom of the one sheet in some manner. And the only other thought I had was that it seems that there's several different fonts in here, and I would stick to 2, 3 at the max if you're using some kind of a script, because it just felt like a lot to take in with the different fonts. So, okay, and then we have some comments in here, so I'll go ahead and read those out. So the question is where's the quote from and who said it? So if it's from the book and it's you, I would have like author's note, or put excerpt or something that indicates that this is part of the book. And then another comment is to maybe tweak the bio for the specific project, because it's not for kids. And I agree, you could definitely shorten the bio area a lot, and that would give you a little bit more space to include a little bit of the excerpt. And I think the excerpt is a little long. It was a lot to read. And the goal of the one sheet is really to be able to hand it to an agent or to an editor to have them sort of understand the pitch and the metadata, a little bit about you, to understand the project, and then to start the conversation asking questions about it. So I would just tweak a few of those things. And then the other comment was, do you have permission to use the photo in the back? So is it copyright free? I always wonder what I can use. I think a lot of the time, if you're building something in Canva and you're paying for Canva Pro, a lot of those images are commercial free that you don't need a license to use, but you're not selling it either. So it's not technically like, it's not a photo that you're taking to sell like on a mug or a sweatshirt. But even within Canva, I think that they always say there's some like disclaimer there too, to always go back and check, because they'll tell you where the photo came from just to make sure that you're using it properly. And that's always going to be really good advice. I think for the most part, anything that you're using in Canva, if you're paying for Canva Pro, you're pretty safe, but you will need to check in case someone's coming after you. But again, this isn't for commercial use, so I think you should be fine. I wouldn't take a photo off of Google. Like I wouldn't go to Google and just take a photo. But so I hope that is helpful, and excited for you to be pitching this. The word count, I think I already mentioned that. So and then if you're using Canva for free, I think that they may make you pay $1. Is it a 99 cents for photos if you want to use one of the ones that's part of the Canva Pro? Before, I think I've paid like 99 cents to use a photo from Canva, but you can go to Unsplash and they have a bunch of photos there. And Unsplash is just one of the free sites where, I would say, artists, people who put their photography or their pictures there for people to use either for free, or they'll put like a commercial free license. You can go directly to Unsplash and then upload the Unsplash photo into Canva to use, just as long as you're just making sure that you're okay to use the picture. So you don't have to pay for Canva Pro. You could bypass it and go to Unsplash directly, or a site like that. Hope that answers. Okay, hope that helps. Yay, thank you for sharing this, Sandra, and I wish you the best of luck. Okay, the other thing, and we still have 10 minutes. So if anyone's got any questions, throw them in the chat. Like I said, today is sort of a bonus day because we didn't have a lot of things to critique today. So this is sort of a potpourri. I have a presentation, a workshop that I do at conferences on nonfiction, but some of the conversation that I've had with some clients has been about fiction and nonfiction when it comes to teasers and hooks. So I thought I'll just share a little bit of that if we have time. And if we don't, I won't. It's not that big of a deal. So, all right. So here's a question. What good/useful conferences are coming in 2024? So whenever you're going to go to a conference, there are some things that you need to consider. And one of them is going to be, what is my goal? Excuse me. So I'll use my mom as an example. My mom is a traditionally published novelist. She indie publishes some of them under the Mosaic collection. So she's what we would consider to be a hybrid author. She does traditional publishing and indie publishing. So she kind of understands both. She's got 20 something books out and just turned another one in. So she is a working writer, which I'm really proud of her for that. So when she's looking at conferences to go to, she has to think she has an agent and she's got book deals, or book contracts lined up. So she's not going to pitch. So in her case, she hasn't been going to conferences for a while. So when she's looking at conferences, and she's going to go to a few this year, she's looking at who's going to be there to teach and what classes are they offering and what am I going to be able to get out of those classes. So she's coming in as a learner. So I use her as an example because somebody who is brand new is going to be coming into a writer's conference. Obviously, they're going to be there to learn. But even if you have a lot of books out, you can still be learning. And so if you're brand new, if you are seasoned, or if you're somebody who is querying or wanting to meet with agents and editors, you're going to be looking at the list of faculty differently. So if you're in the querying stage, meaning you have a book that you want to pitch, or you want to see if it's an idea that would work, or you're trying to sell a project, then who's going to be at the conference that you're going to be able to meet with? And Christian market is different than general market. So in the general market conferences, usually you pay to pitch the agents. They often don't bring editors in, maybe one or two, but it's not the same like at the Christian conference where they have a mix of agents and editors there. And at the Christian conferences, they usually just include, sorry if my camera is moving. It just looked like a little bit of like an earthquake on the camera. They usually include your pitch sessions within the registration, and everybody has access to those. Whereas for the general market conference, you pay for the conference, and then if you want to meet with an agent there, then you would pay the fee to meet with the agent. So it's a little bit different. So you really need to see who's going and what are my goals when I get there. That's really the thing. Like, what can I learn? Who am I going to meet with? In some cases, it's time to take a break from conferences because you kind of like you're in the busy part, and you can take classes maybe somewhere else, or they're not going to have the classes that you think you're going to need, and maybe there's nobody there that's going to that it would be worth spending $1,000 to go to meet with that person. So Kyle and I are really, I mean, we host conferences, so this is coming from somebody who hosts conferences. You really have to think about what's the return on investment for me. Now, sometimes that return on investment is just being with writers. Maybe it's just I just need to be filled. I just want to sit there and take it in. I don't really need to meet with anybody, and I want to learn, but I just need to be with other writers and be part of the writing community in person. That's valid too. So whatever your goals are, that's what you want to look at. So there's several conferences still coming up. There's a lot of virtual conferences. The writing day workshops are hosted by Chuck Sambucino, and he has a business partner, and they're doing them all over. There's one coming up on May 10th. I think it's on May 10th and May 11th, but the agent pitches are on they're on that Saturday. I don't even know what day it is. I just posted on my Facebook about it. I think I posted on Serious Writer about it, but you can go to Writing Day workshops. They have in-person ones and ones that are online that are pretty reasonable, and you'll get some different perspectives on some classes. Blue Ridge is coming up. The Florida Christian Writers Conference is coming up. I think Kentucky is coming up, and the Christian market. Speak Up will be in July. So I'm attending a lot more conferences this year than I normally have. And Kyle's going to Killer Nashville pretty quickly after he gets to Italy. And then we are doing an event in North Carolina, September 5th through 7th. And those details will be coming out pretty soon. So yep, we'll be doing a September 5 through 7. And it is hard to find editors going to conferences, and here's why. So again, Christian market is a little bit different, but if you look at the Christian market conferences, a lot of the editors who are going there are not traditional editors. Many of them are hybrid publishers, and not necessarily like big traditional houses. And at the general market, you hardly ever see an editor there. Like I said, at the one that I was just at in DC, there was just one. So the reason is because, like, on the traditional side, most of the bigger traditional houses require you to have an agent. And so there's no reason for them to send an editor to a conference when the writer they're going to meet needs to have an agent in order to submit to them anyway. So a lot of agents go to those conferences, and you're meeting with them. So it's a little bit different. So if you're thinking of the editors who are going to be there, just make sure that you know who you're pitching to and what they're going to offer you. Is it going to be a traditional publisher in terms of like an advance and then royalties, or is it going to be a hybrid where you're going to pay for services? You just got to kind of know about that. Let's see if I missed any. So it's pretty hard finding editors at a conference for sure. Totally understand that. All right, let's talk about hooks and teasers real quick. So hooks and teasers, let me see if I can just pull up an example of hooks and teasers. All right, let me share my screen. All right, so this is just a quick snippet out of a longer nonfiction workshop, but this could be also used for fiction. So we'll just go through this very, very, very quickly. So a hook captures the reader's attention. So especially if you're writing an article or a blog post, the first chapter, any of the openings in a chapter, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, or even in a picture book, what's the opening? That's what pulls the reader in. You're hooking their attention. In nonfiction, particularly, because this is from a nonfiction class, we're talking about hooks, subheadings, and teasers. A subheading is where you let your reader breathe. And so for the most part in fiction, and this is a general rule, you don't want your reader to breathe. You want the tension to be there the whole time so that they continue to read all the way to the end. Nonfiction is a little bit different, and most readers don't finish a nonfiction book. They don't read it cover to cover, mostly because you give your readers a lot of breathing points. It's just part of the craft of nonfiction. So you have to be really good at hooks and teasers. But a subheading is, the bold font that indicates we're going into a different section. And then a teaser is the bottom. It's you have the hook at the top, you have the teaser at the bottom, and that's what is kind of teasing your reader into the next section or into the next chapter. So if you have a writer who is really great at teasers, or if you find yourself reading a book and you can't put it down, so you're up till 3 a.m. Have you ever been up till 3 a.m. reading a book? Probably the author is super great at the tease and the hook because you can't stop reading. You have to keep going. And that could be for fiction or nonfiction. There are some nonfiction books that I read in one night. I think Love Does by Bob Goff was one of them. It was just fascinating. So we're talking about, okay, I'm just kind of flipping through because I don't want to give you I'm not gonna make you sit through a whole workshop. This is an example of Atomic Habits, which is a nonfiction book, and just an example of how to begin a story. You need to connect with your readers. You can do it with one of your stories, or you can do it with a story from somebody else. And that's what he chose to do here, is instead of telling a story about him, he tells a story of someone else to hook you in. In nonfiction specifically, you have to use hooks and teasers multiple times. So you don't have a hook and teaser just at the beginning and end of the chapter. You also have to do it throughout the book. You have to hook them at the beginning, and then you have to tease them before you go into the next section or before the next subheading. And then when you have that subheading, like why small habits make a difference, which is on screen, then you have to have another hook and then another teaser. So it's this constant circle of pulling your reader in and then teasing them into the next section. And so in this case, because this is towards the end of this workshop, so not everything on here is just specific to the hooks and the teasers, but one thing that he does is he addresses the reader with questions, and it's a way to build rapport and also to get you thinking, so then he can pull you in with another hook after his subheading. And then down here, I'm just showing that with nonfiction specifically, you have to be relatable and you have to connect. And using we language is one way to do that. So anytime that you're writing and you use the word you, it's very harsh, and it sounds harsh to the ear, and it reads harsh to the eyes, I guess is the way to say that. Whereas anytime that you can say we, it's going to be better. We've done this. We're going to do this, or if we've ever had a problem with this, instead of you, it's just a nice way to build rapport. So not too much, but I did want to just kind of talk about hooks and teasers just slightly, and something to really practice. And one thing that I think is really important is to think about your social media as practice. Think of social media as writing. So the caption area on Instagram or a Facebook post or in YouTube, which that whole description box is basically a place for a mini blog. Don't think about, oh, my writing time is just for stories and books, and then I have marketing time, which is social media. I really like to think of the social media time as also writing time, because you're learning how to tell a story in a very short amount of space. You have to have a great hook. You don't really necessarily have to have a teaser unless you're doing something like an Instagram story, for example, where you're wanting them to come back to learn more, or if you're doing a video, like a reel on there, and you're giving away some tips that, you could indicate that there's going to be more great stuff if they follow. But you can really practice some of the craft, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, within your social media. So my goal and my challenge for you is to think about your social media time as writing time, and think about the caption area and the posting area as places for you to practice telling story about whatever it is that you're posting about. Okay, see a comment. Robin says, "We works better in preaching too," and it so does. Some of the best advice I ever got was from an editor at my very first writers conference, and he redlined my manuscript to no end. But he asked me if I ever taught or spoke, and I was like, yes, I teach youth group Bible study, I do all this. And he said, I can tell. He's like, I can hear you saying this from the stage, and it would be fine, because people can hear your voice, they can hear your tone, they can see your face. There's things that you can do when you're speaking to make a point, where the words are not the only important thing, but in a book, it's just black and white. And so you have to throw the conversational tone into the writing, and anything that's you and I, as much as possible, could be flipped to we, and it makes it softer. So, and we is so important in there too. You want to connect with people, and you want to connect with people who agree with you and people who disagree with you. So that way you don't have people throwing your book across the room because they're mad. Even though it's okay to say things that, not everybody's going to agree with, but we is a power word for sure in your writing. So I don't see any other questions coming in, and I knew today would be roughly about 30 minutes, and we hit about that. So just as a reminder, next week, it's not Wednesday, and I will be posting this out, but Brian Gerlain will be with us, and I'm very excited, like I said, for him to talk about picture books. And if you want to check out his website, his last name is Gerl. See, I'm just gonna have to type it out. It's pronounced differently than how I said it. Yes, it will be recorded. So we are recording for the podcast. You're welcome to be here with us so that you can do live Q&A, but that's just a perk if you want to join in to watch the live filming. No need to. We will be recording it, and all of our podcasts with this episode, we have enough to where we're going to start sending them out. You guys will get the replays first, and then they'll go live on the podcast episode. For his episode specifically, we are filming Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern next week. And his replay, I'm going to send it out probably the next day on Wednesday, since we normally meet on Wednesdays. So I'll have his out the next day. But Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central will be the live recording with him. So super excited. His book is called The Book of Rules, and it's got this big purple monster on it, whose name is Dennis. And so his social media is super fun. Definitely check out his Twitter X. And thank you for being here with me today. I'll have this replay up very quickly, and if you're watching the replay, we're glad to have you. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments, and Kyle will be with us in a couple weeks. So I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye. Good to see y'all.